Dad, she's dying. The girl who saved a starving alien widow, and changed her father's life. The ion storm rolled over Ember Moon like a red wall. Jackson Hale stood outside his small mining outpost and watched the sky flicker with blue lightning. The wind pulled at his jacket and threw dust into his face. He had only minutes before it turned deadly. He checked the last lock on his supply vault. If the storm took their stores, he and his daughter were finished. He turned toward the shelter door. Then he heard it. A thin sound under the howl of the wind. At first it sounded like loose metal, but it came again. Soft. Shaking. Like someone trying not to cry. He froze. No one else lived this far out. No one should be outside now. The sound came again. A small, broken sob. Jackson grabbed his breath mask and stepped away from the shelter, heart beating faster. "Hello," he shouted. The wind tore the word away. Something tugged on his sleeve. He spun. A small hand clung to his jacket. He looked down and saw a familiar, dusty face. Lumi. His 7-year-old daughter stood in the storm, hair whipping, eyes wide. "Lumi," he yelled. "You should be inside." She shook her head, fighting for breath. "Dad, she needs help," Lumi gasped. "She's dying." Jackson pulled her close and turned his back to the wind. "Who?" he asked. Lumi pointed past the outpost toward the open ground. "She's out there," she said. "Please, Dad. We can't leave her." "Stay next to me," he said. He took her hand and moved into the storm. The wind hit them like a wall. Dust filled their mouths and eyes. Jackson kept his head down. Lumi coughed but did not let go. Behind a half-buried cargo frame, he saw something move. "Behind me," he said. He stepped around the wreckage. A woman lay in the sand, curled into herself. Her skin was pale. Her clothes were torn. She was so thin he could see the shape of her ribs. Not human. Her eyes opened a little. When she saw Jackson, fear flashed across her face. She tried to push herself away, but her arms shook and failed. Jackson pulled a small water pack from his belt and held it out. "Drink," he shouted. "You'll die out here." The alien woman stared at the water like it was poison. She weakly pushed his hand away. Lumi dropped to her knees beside her and wrapped her small arms around the stranger's shoulders. "It's okay," Lumi whispered. "My dad is kind. He helps people. If you stay with us, you won't be hungry again. I promise." The woman's lips trembled. A tear cut through the dust on her cheek. Her hand moved a little toward the water, then fell back. The storm roared louder. Then another sound rose out of the wind. A deep, low growl. Jackson turned and saw a dark shape moving through the storm. Something big, low to the ground. 2 yellow eyes glowed through the dust. A sand stalker. Jackson did not think. He slid his arms under the woman's thin body. She was shockingly light. She gave a small cry of pain but did not fight him. "Hold on," he told her. Lumi grabbed the back of his jacket as he turned toward the shelter. The growl behind them became a roar. Jackson ran. The storm pushed against him, but he forced his legs to move. Dust cut his cheeks. The woman shook in his arms, breath short. The sandstalker thundered after them. The shelter door came into view, half buried in dust. Jackson slammed his hand on the emergency panel. The door began to slide open. Too slow. The beast roared again and charged. Jackson pushed Lumi through the narrow gap, then followed with the woman in his arms. The sandstalker leaped. The door slammed shut with a heavy clang. Claws raked across the outside metal. The roar faded. Inside the shelter, the wind dropped to a dull hum. Jackson stood there, chest heaving, holding the alien woman while Lumi clung to his side. For the first time, he saw the stranger's eyes clearly. They were full of pain and fear. But deep inside them, there was also a small, fragile spark of hope. Inside the shelter, the storm's howl became a distant rumble. Jackson laid the alien woman gently on a padded mat near the heater. Lumi knelt beside her, brushing dust from the woman's cracked cheeks. The stranger's breath was shallow. Her hands trembled as if she expected someone to hit her at any moment. Jackson crouched in front of her. "You're safe now," he said softly. "No one here will hurt you." The woman stared at the floor, not at him. Lumi leaned close. "Can you tell us your name?" The woman opened her mouth, but only a dry rasp came out. She swallowed, then tried again. "Neria," she whispered. Her voice was fragile, like it might break if she spoke too much. Jackson nodded. "I'm Jackson." "That's my troublemaker, Lumi." Lumi grinned. Neria did not. She sat stiffly, knees pulled close, ready to flee even though she could barely stand. Every small sound made her flinch. Jackson stood and moved to the small cooking unit. He filled a pot with broth, a simple, warm mix miners used during cold nights. As it heated, the smell spread through the room. Lumi's stomach growled loudly. She giggled. Jackson smiled. But Neria stiffened, eyes locked on the pot like a person watching a fire they fear will burn them. When Jackson brought the bowl to her, she recoiled. Her shaking hands pushed the bowl away. "I cannot take human food," she whispered. "The last time I did, they punished me." Jackson felt a sharp ache in his chest. "Who punished you?" Neria didn't answer. She stared at her hands, twisting her fingers together. Her silence said enough. Lumi gently pushed the bowl closer. "My dad doesn't punish anyone," she said. "He fixes things. He helps people." Something in Neria's eyes flickered, confusion, disbelief, maybe hope. Slowly, painfully, she reached for the bowl. Her fingers trembled so hard the broth almost spilled. Jackson steadied it without touching her skin. Neria lifted the bowl to her lips. The moment the warm broth touched her tongue, her eyes widened. Her throat moved fast, desperate to drink more. Then she froze, as if surprised by her own hunger. Her eyes filled with tears. She tried to hide it, turning her face away. But her thin shoulders shook. Jackson pretended not to see. Lumi didn't pretend. She wrapped her arms gently around Neria's side. "It's okay," Lumi whispered. "You're safe here." After eating, Neria leaned back, exhausted. Her breathing slowed. The harsh fear in her eyes softened just a little. Jackson cleaned the bowl and sat across from her. "Neria, how long were you out there?" She closed her eyes for a long moment. When she opened them, her voice was almost gone. "Many days," she whispered. "I ran when raiders attacked my home. I hid in old caves. I ate dust and cold. I thought, maybe it is better to fade away." Lumi's hand tightened around Neria's. Jackson asked quietly, "Why didn't you go to the colony?" Neria shook her head sharply. "Humans there do not want my kind. They chase us away. Some throw stones. Some worse." Jackson's jaw clenched. He kept his voice calm. "And Lumi found you?" Neria nodded. "She saw me near the market. She gave me bread, told me to wait. But guards noticed me. They shouted. I ran. I hid for days. Then the storm came." Lumi's eyes filled with guilt. "I tried to help," she said. "But I couldn't bring you home alone. I waited for you, Dad. I knew you'd save her." Jackson put a hand on Lumi's shoulder. "You did the right thing." Neria watched them quietly. Something changed in her expression, like she was seeing a kind of family she had forgotten existed. That night, Lumi fell asleep beside Neria, her small hand wrapped around the alien woman's arm. Neria stared at the child, confused by the simple trust. Jackson sat at the table in low light, pretending to work while he watched them from a distance. Suddenly Neria spoke. "Your daughter, she told me something." Jackson looked up. "What did she say?" Neria's eyes lowered. "She said, marry him. You will never be hungry again." Jackson blinked, then rubbed the bridge of his nose. "Lumi says strange things sometimes." Neria shook her head. "Not strange. Just innocent." She hesitated. "But she is wrong. I cannot stay. If I stay, my trouble will follow." Jackson leaned forward. "What is following you?" Neria's hands clenched. Fear returned to her face. "If I tell you," she whispered, "you may wish I never came." Jackson's voice was steady and calm. "Neria. Tell me." She hesitated, then slowly reached inside her torn clothing. She pulled out a small pendant, glowing faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. "They want this," she said. "And they will come again." Outside, the storm suddenly stopped. Silence pressed against the walls. Jackson and Neria shared the same thought. Something dangerous had arrived. The sudden silence outside felt wrong. Ion storms never ended this fast. Not naturally. Jackson stepped toward the small window slit, but Neria grabbed his wrist with surprising strength for someone so weak. "Don't stand near the glass," she whispered. "If they tracked me, they'll be watching." Lumi sat up from her blanket, rubbing her eyes. "Is the storm gone?" Jackson forced a calm smile. "Yes. But we stay inside." Neria moved to the far corner, her eyes fixed on the doorway as if expecting it to break open any moment. Her body shook, not from cold, but from memory. Lumi crawled beside her again. "Are bad people coming?" she asked. Neria didn't answer. Her silence was enough. Jackson checked the monitor linked to the outer sensors. Static. The storm had fried half the systems. He reset the backup power. The screen blinked. Lines of grainy gray. For a moment there was nothing. Then a shadow moved across the camera. Slow. Heavy. Like a person testing the limits of the shelter wall. Jackson's stomach tightened. He lowered the lights until the room was dim and quiet. The heater hummed softly, the only warm sound in the growing tension. Neria hugged her knees. "I told you I cannot stay," she whispered. "My danger becomes your danger." Jackson shook his head. "You're here now. We deal with what comes." Lumi came to Jackson's side. "Dad? Are we in trouble?" He knelt and held her shoulders. "We'll be okay. Stay close, all right?" She nodded and clutched her small puzzle cube nervously. Neria watched them. A strange expression spread across her face, sadness mixed with something she seemed scared to feel. Longing. Jackson returned to the monitor. The shadow moved again, followed by two more. Not animals. Not sand stalkers. People. Then a voice crackled through the old external speaker, cold, sharp, echoing through the desert night. "Shelter 47. We know you're inside." Neria trembled. "It's them." Jackson picked up his tool rifle and clicked the safety off. "Who?" Her voice was barely a breath. "Vornek's men." The speaker crackled again. "We don't want your shelter," the voice said. "We want the widow." Lumi gasped. Jackson pulled her behind him. "You give her to us," the voice continued, "and we walk away. Refuse, and we tear your home apart." Jackson hit the transmit button. "She's not yours." A long pause followed. Then soft, cruel laughter. "You're brave, Miner," the voice said. "But bravery won't save you." Another thud echoed along the wall. Someone, testing the metal. Neria closed her eyes as if preparing for the worst. "They won't leave, Jackson. Not until they take me. The pendant is worth more to them than 100 lives." Jackson looked at her. "Then tell me what it really is. No more secrets." Neria hesitated. Her hands slowly lifted the pendant again. The faint glow cast soft light across the room. "My husband found this in the ruins of the ancient fight zones," she whispered. "Inside it is a binding code. A seed, for old machines that once walked this moon." Jackson's eyes widened. "War machines?" She nodded. "Titans. Buried after the Great Collapse. People died to hide them. And Vornek wants control. He thinks with the code he can command them and rule Embermoon." Jackson frowned. "But why you?" Neria swallowed. "My husband made me promise to keep it safe. Before he died, he said I must guard it until someone good needed it." Lumi stepped closer. "But why chase you so far?" Neria pointed to the door. "Because I ran longer than anyone else. He wants the code, and to make an example of me." A sudden metallic crack slammed through the shelter. The door shook. Lumi jumped and grabbed Jackson's leg. "They're breaking in," Neria whispered. Jackson stared at the pendant in her shaking hands. "If the code wakes machines, can we use it?" Neria looked terrified. "It is not simple. The pendant only answers truth. Good intention. Purpose. If someone with anger speaks, it stays dead." Jackson took the pendant. It vibrated faintly in his palm. Outside, a boot slammed against the door. Another. Lumi screamed and covered her ears. Jackson held the pendant tight. He didn't raise it like a weapon. He didn't shout. He simply closed his eyes and spoke from the simplest part of himself. "I don't want power. I don't want control. I just want to protect my daughter, and this woman who has suffered too much." The pendant pulsed. Light spread across Jackson's fingers. Neria's breath caught. "It's listening." The ground outside trembled. The dust on the shelter floor shifted. Another tremor. Then another. Lumi looked up with wide eyes. "Dad, what's happening?" Jackson didn't move. Neria whispered, "Something is waking." A deep rumble rose from the earth like a heartbeat under their feet. The raiders outside fell silent. Then the land itself groaned, as if something massive was rising from the sand. Jackson looked toward the door. Whatever was waking, was coming straight toward them. The shaking did not stop. Dust sifted down from the ceiling. The heater rattled. Tools on Jackson's workbench slid and clattered to the floor. Outside the door, the raiders' voices turned confused. "What was that?" "Something's moving under the sand." "Fall back. Fall back." But they were too late. A thunderous crack split the ground. The desert outside roared like a living thing. Then something enormous pushed upward through the sand. Lumi pressed her hands over her ears. Jackson pulled her close as the shelter walls vibrated. Neria stared at the ceiling, her eyes full of fear and wonder. "The Titan, it hears you," she whispered. The ground trembled again, long, deep, ancient. Then a shadow passed over the shelter windows. Jackson lifted Lumi and ran to the viewing slit. What he saw made his breath catch. A massive machine, half buried for centuries, dragged itself out of the sand. Its legs were thick pillars of metal and stone. Its armor was cracked, rusted, covered in sand and glowing veins of old power. Two white lights flickered to life in its head. Eyes. The Titan turned slowly, like a giant waking from a long sleep. Every movement made the world shake. Neria staggered backward, covering her mouth with her hands. I never thought one would rise again. Outside, the raiders scrambled away. One shouted, "Run! Run!" Another fell flat, screaming as the Titan's massive shadow passed over him. Jackson swallowed hard. "It's protecting us." "No," Neria whispered. "It's protecting you." The pendant answered your voice. The Titan lowered its head toward the shelter, like a creature waiting for instructions. The raiders tried one last attack. 3 of them fired blasters at the Titan's legs. The beams hit its armor and fizzled out like sparks in water. The Titan responded with a low hum, almost like an animal growling. Then its arm rose. A heavy metal fist slammed into the sand, sending a shockwave that threw the raiders backward like toys. Their weapons flew from their hands. One man crawled away, screaming, "We need to retreat." It woke the old machine. They ran, stumbling over each other, disappearing into the dark. Silence followed. The Titan stood still. Its eyes glowed faintly, watching the shelter like a loyal guardian from a forgotten era. Lumi whispered, "Dad, did you make a robot friend?" Jackson managed a weak smile. "I guess so." But Neria didn't smile. She turned toward him, her expression heavy with fear. "Jackson. Vornek will feel the activation. He will come. And he will not come alone." Jackson set Lumi down gently. "Then we prepare." But the moment felt fragile. The crisis wasn't over. Jackson moved toward the door to check the outside damage. The Titan shifted its head and followed his movement, almost like a huge metal animal responding to a familiar voice. "Looks like it listens to you," Neria whispered. Jackson didn't answer. His eyes were on something else, something near the dunes. A smear of dark movement. At first he thought it was a raider fleeing. Then he saw its shape. Long, low. Fast. Another sandstalker. Its eyes glowed amber in the dim light. And it wasn't running away. It was circling the shelter again, cautious but hungry. Neria grabbed Lumi and pulled her back. "Not wild," she whispered. "Vornek trains them. They follow the scent of fear." Jackson raised his rifle. "Stay behind me." The sandstalker crouched low, muscles tensing. Its eyes shifted from the shelter to the Titan. It hissed. The Titan did not move. Instead, it let out a deep, slow vibration, a warning. For a moment, the predator hesitated. Then it lunged. Jackson fired. The blast hit the stalker's shoulder but barely slowed it. Neria screamed, grabbing Lumi. The creature leaped. And the Titan struck. Its hand slammed down between the shelter and the beast. Sand exploded upward. The shockwave knocked the stalker sideways onto its back. It scrambled to its feet, snarling, but the Titan leaned forward, lowering its massive body like a mountain closing in. The creature whimpered. Then it fled into the night. Silence settled again. Jackson lowered his rifle. He turned to Neria. "If that was just a scout. The real threat is close behind," she finished, her voice shaking. The Titan's eyes dimmed slightly, waiting. Lumi peeked out from behind Neria. "Is it going to help us again?" Jackson placed a hand on the metal door. "I think it will." But Neria didn't look comforted. "The Titan woke," she said slowly. "But machines like that don't stay silent once they rise. Others beneath the sand will feel its signal." Jackson frowned. "You mean more Titans?" "Maybe. Or maybe something worse." She hugged Lumi closer. "These machines don't wake for free. They wake for war." Outside, the Titan stood tall in the moonlight, ancient, loyal, and waiting. Inside, Jackson realized there was no going back. The moment he spoke from his heart, he changed everything. The next morning came with a strange calm. The sky above Embermoon was clear, soft gold, as if the night of chaos had never happened. But inside the shelter, no one felt calm. Neria sat on the floor near the heater, her back straight, her hands folded in her lap. The faint wound on her side had reopened during the night, and Lumi kept checking it with a cloth. "You're hurting," Lumi whispered. Neria gave a small smile. "Not as much as before. You helped me." Lumi blushed and sat closer. Jackson worked quietly at the table, cleaning the parts of his tool rifle. Every few minutes he glanced at the door, as if expecting someone, or something, to break it down again. Outside the window slit, the Titan still stood like a silent mountain. Its glowing eyes scanned the dunes. Every once in a while, it made a small mechanical rumble, as if thinking. Neria watched it too. "I still cannot believe it answered you," she said softly. Jackson shrugged. "I didn't do anything special." "You spoke truth," Neria replied. "Ancient machines, they only wake for voices with purpose." Lumi looked between them. "So Dad is special?" Jackson chuckled. "No. But I'm stubborn." Neria stared at him a little longer, something unreadable in her eyes. Something almost soft. But then she looked away, guilt tightening her expression. "I should not stay here. You have a child. A life. My presence only brings danger." Jackson shook his head. "Your danger found us already. Leaving won't fix anything." Neria's hands trembled slightly. "But Vornek." "I don't care about Vornek," Jackson cut in. "What I care about is that you're alive. Lumi cares too." Lumi nodded hard. She leaned against Neria's shoulder like a child who had known her for years. Neria froze for a moment, unsure how to respond. Then she slowly placed a hand on Lumi's head. A small connection. Fragile, but real. That afternoon, Jackson stepped outside to repair an old solar panel. The Titan turned its head toward him like a watchful guardian. "Thanks for last night," he said quietly, unsure if it could even hear. The Titan hummed once, a deep metal tone that rolled across the sand. Inside, Neria listened to the sound and frowned. "The machine, it's not just awake. It's aware." "What does that mean?" Lumi asked. "It remembers the old wars," Neria whispered. "And the code inside the pendant binds it to the person who woke it." Lumi widened her eyes. "So it listens to my dad?" Neria hesitated. "Yes, and it would die for him." Jackson re-entered the shelter, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Solar panels working again. At least we have power." Neria looked at him for a long moment, then said quietly, "I need to tell you something important." Jackson sat across from her. Lumi climbed onto a cushion, listening too. Neria took a slow breath. "Titans do not wake alone." Her voice was low, serious. "When one rises, the others beneath the sands can sense the energy. Some will respond." Jackson frowned. "More Titans?" She shook her head. "Not all Titans. Some, other things." Lumi hugged her knees. "Bad things?" Neria nodded. That night, after Lumi fell asleep on a pile of blankets, Neria helped Jackson clean dried blood from her wound. He worked carefully, not wanting to hurt her. Their faces were close, the heater casting warm shadows. "You shouldn't risk so much for me," Neria whispered. "You saved Lumi yesterday," Jackson replied. "No one who saves my daughter is a burden." Neria's breath caught. No one had spoken to her like that in years. She looked at Lumi sleeping peacefully. "She reminds me of something I lost a long time ago." "A child?" Jackson asked softly. Neria shook her head. "Hope. Jackson didn't answer. He just placed a warm cloth gently on her side. For a moment, the world felt still. Quiet. Almost safe. Then the shelter alarm beeped once. A single warning tone. Jackson stood instantly. Movement outside. He checked the monitor. Blurry shapes appeared at the edge of sensor range. Slow. Careful. Neria stood behind him, her voice tight. Is it raiders? No, Jackson said slowly. Humans, but not attacking. He zoomed the feed. They were families, exhausted, carrying bags, limping across the sand. Neria gasped. Survivors? They approached the Titan carefully, fear in their eyes. One shouted toward the shelter. We heard a Titan woke. We saw lights. We saw it fight the raiders. Please, we need help. Jackson exchanged a look with Neria. Hope and danger had both arrived at his door. Because when survivors come, enemies always follow. By sunrise, more survivors reached the outpost. A group of 6. Then 9. Then nearly 20. Men, women, and 2 injured teenagers, all covered in dust, all terrified. The Titan stood perfectly still as they gathered near it, like a giant protector carved from stone. Some survivors knelt before it. Others whispered prayers. A few simply cried. Inside the shelter, Lumi peeked out the door with wide eyes. Dad, they're scared. I know, Jackson said quietly. Let's help them. Neria stood beside him, her posture tense. If this many people fled here, something pushed them out. Jackson nodded. Vornek. Lumi held Neria's hand. Is he coming? Neria didn't answer, but her silence was enough. Jackson stepped out into the hot morning light. The survivors rushed toward him. Is this your Titan? Are we safe here? Will it protect us? Will Vornek follow? Jackson lifted his hands. One at a time. A tired woman stepped forward. Vornek's scouts hit the southern valley. They burned homes. Took supplies. Anyone who resisted, they shot. Her voice cracked. We ran. We had nowhere else to go. Another man added, we saw your Titan last night from the ridge. We followed its light. Jackson's stomach twisted. You came because you saw a fight. Yes, the man whispered. Because we needed something stronger than Vornek. The Titan hummed softly, almost acknowledging their fear. Neria stepped beside Jackson and spoke with a steady voice. We will not turn anyone away. Survivors sighed with relief. Some dropped to their knees. Others hugged each other. But Jackson's eyes fixed on the horizon. Where heat shimmered, and dust began to rise in unnatural patterns. Not wind. Engines. Inside the shelter, Neria studied the sand map. Small red dots moved rapidly toward them. Scouts, she said. Vornek sent the first wave. Jackson grabbed his rifle. How long before the main force arrives? Neria hesitated. Not long. Vornek moves fast when he wants something. Lumi looked between them, frightened. What does he want? Jackson crouched to her level. He wants the pendant Neria protects. And he wants to control the Titans, Neria whispered. Lumi hugged Neria tightly. No, he can't have you. Neria's chest tightened. I will not let him. Jackson stepped outside again. Survivors watched him with desperate hope. We have to prepare, Jackson said. Anyone who can fight, gather tools or weapons. Anyone who can't, help reinforce the shelter walls. A few nodded bravely, though fear trembled in their hands. One old miner approached Jackson. I used to lay explosives in the east quarries. I can help set traps. Jackson's eyes lit with relief. Good. I'll show you where. While they worked, Neria moved toward the Titan. Lumi followed, unable to let go of her hand. Neria lifted the pendant. The Titan's eyes brightened. She pressed her palm to its metal leg. Guardian of the old world, we ask your strength again. The Titan lowered its head slightly, as if in respect. Lumi smiled. It likes you now. No, Neria whispered. It respects your father. Then she looked toward the horizon. Dust clouds grew larger. Metallic glints flashed under the sun. Engines. Weapons. Ships. Vornek was here. Minutes later, a deep roar echoed across the desert. A massive hovership broke through the heat haze, black, jagged, and covered in spiked plating. Raider banners hung from its sides. As it stopped above the dunes, its engines blasted sand like a storm. Speakers crackled. A voice thundered across the valley. Neria. Widow of the fallen. You have run long enough. Neria stiffened. Lumi grabbed her arm. Don't go. Don't listen. Jackson pulled Lumi back behind him. Vornek's voice continued. You carry something that belongs to me. Give me the pendant, and I may let your people live. Jackson raised his rifle. Not happening, Vornek. The speaker let out a cold laugh. Oh, Miner, you think that toy and your rusted Titan will save you? The ground trembled. From beneath the hovership, dozens of black attack drones dropped into formation. Their wings unfolded like blades. Their red eyes glowed. Then the ship's belly opened again. A larger shape emerged, a giant armored beast with mechanical limbs, metal plates fused with organic muscle. Neria's face turned white. Not possible. Lumi's voice shook. What is that? Neria whispered. A Ravager beast. Vornek rebuilt it from forbidden war parts. That monster destroyed entire villages in the old wars. The beast roared, shaking the entire valley. Survivors screamed. Some dropped to their knees. A few ran back toward the shelter in terror. Jackson grabbed Neria's wrist. We need the Titan. Now. Neria nodded, her eyes never leaving the beast. The Titan took one heavy step forward, sand exploding under its foot. The Ravager roared a challenge. Two giants, born from different eras, faced each other across the valley. And war came to Ember Moon. The Titan stepped forward. Its heavy foot crushed the sand, sending a tremor through the valley. On the other side, Vornek's Ravager beast crouched low, metal plates shifting as it growled like an engine filled with rage. For a breath, nothing moved. Then the Ravager charged. The Titan met it head-on. Their collision shook the desert. Metal scraped against metal. Sparks exploded across the dunes. Survivors screamed and scattered. Lumi covered her ears, trembling against Neria's side. Jackson yelled above the noise, keep her inside the shelter. Don't let her run out. Neria nodded and pulled Lumi back, but Lumi refused to let go. Don't leave us, she cried. Please don't. I'm not leaving, Neria whispered, holding her close. The Titan swung its remaining arm, smashing into the Ravager's jaw. The beast stumbled, then leaped, its claws tearing into the Titan's armor. A chunk of metal flew off and landed near the shelter. Jackson ran to a dug-in trap, slammed his fist on a detonator, and a line of explosions erupted under a cluster of Vornek's drones. 3 fell immediately, crashing into the sand in pieces. But the Ravager didn't slow. It pinned the Titan against a rock wall and drove its metal horns into the Titan's torso. Circuits sparked. The Titan roared in a deep, ancient tone that vibrated through every bone in Jackson's body. Neria realized the Titan was losing. We need to help it, she said. With what? Jackson shouted. It's two giants fighting. We're only. He stopped. Because Lumi stepped forward and held out the pendant. Daddy, she said. The Titan listens to truth, Lumi whispered. Then, maybe it will listen to me too. Neria's breath caught. Lumi. But it was too late. The pendant glowed brightly in the child's hands. The Titan's eyes flashed white. It pushed the Ravager back with a burst of sudden strength, strength it didn't have moments ago. Jackson stared. She boosted it, the pendant responded to her. Neria nodded slowly. Children's truth has no fear, no anger. It trusts purity. The Ravager roared and charged again, but the Titan stood taller, its damaged plates glowing with new energy. Neria gently took the pendant from Lumi. Stay behind your father. She ran forward and held the pendant high. The Titan lowered itself, as if receiving orders through the glow. Guardian, Neria shouted over the roaring beast, fall back toward the ridge. The Titan shifted sideways, dodging the Ravager's lunging jaws. It led the beast toward a narrow canyon Jackson used for mining years ago. Jackson's eyes widened. Neria. You're leading it right into. Yes, she said, breathless. Into the collapse zone. Jackson sprinted after her. Then we finish it. They reached the top of the ridge. Below, the Titan stumbled into the canyon as the Ravager tackled it. The walls shook. Rocks cracked. Jackson looked down at Neria. When I say now, you trigger the pendant. What will it do? She asked. It'll shock the Titan's core, Jackson said. Enough to stun the Ravager. Enough to drop the canyon roof. Neria swallowed. And the Titan? Jackson's jaw tensed. It'll survive. If we time it right. She nodded. Jackson raised his hand. The Ravager lifted the Titan again, slamming it against stone. Now. Neria pressed the pendant with both hands. A white pulse erupted from the Titan's chest. The Ravager screeched, stumbling backward. Then the canyon roof broke. Boulders thundered down. Dust exploded upward. The Ravager disappeared under tons of rock. The Titan collapsed to one knee, half buried, its lights flickering. But still alive. Silence spread across the valley. The war was over. Later, survivors gathered around Jackson's shelter. The sky glowed soft pink as Ember Moon's twin sun set. People hugged Jackson, thanking him. Others thanked Neria. Several approached Lumi and called her the girl with the glowing heart. For the first time in years, this broken place felt like a home. Inside the shelter, Neria sat on a cushion while Lumi braided glowing wire strands into something delicate. What are you making? Neria asked. It's a gift, Lumi whispered. For when you marry my dad. Neria froze. Jackson entered, overhearing the words. He scratched the back of his neck awkwardly. Lumi, we talked about this. No, Neria said softly. Both Jackson and Lumi turned to her. She smiled, a real, gentle smile that reached her eyes. Let her speak. Lumi held up a small bracelet made of crystal wires and glowing dust beads. This is for you, she said. I want you to stay. Forever. Neria took the bracelet, her hands trembling. She looked at Lumi. Then at Jackson. Are you sure? She whispered. My past, my danger. Jackson stepped closer. Danger comes and goes. But people like you, don't. Neria's eyes shimmered. I never thought I would belong anywhere again. You do here, Jackson said. Lumi ran forward and hugged them both. So you'll be my mom. Neria closed her eyes. Tears slipped down her cheeks. Yes, she breathed. If you'll have me. I choose you. Jackson gently took her hand. Then stay, he whispered. Outside, the Titan slowly rose from the canyon, battered but alive. It stood tall again, its glowing eyes watching over the valley like a silent guardian. A human miner. An alien widow. A little girl with a brave heart. And an ancient giant who listened to truth. A strange family, formed by fire, fear, and hope. Together, they would rebuild Embermoon. Together, they would live. And together, they would never run again.